order to make all of this bonus footage that I've made going through my kimono collection, I've had to get them all out, which means I have to put them all back. They're all folded neatly into chests and cupboards around my house, and I'm going to put them back. And I'm going to share with you a little secret. Now, some people know about this, Japanese people know about this, and people who know about kimonos know about this, but a lot of people who own Japanese kimonos do not know this little trick, this hack that is fantastic, and you should know it as you now have kimono and you are making a kata. You need to use the floor, or you need to use a bed, or you need to use a lovely big desk like I've got. It doesn't need to hold the entire thing, but it needs to hold a big part of the seam like this, so you can get big parts of it flat. So get yourself on the floor if need be, and get your kimono sort of furthered out like this so it's basically flat, and you're going to work from one side in and then the other side in, so it gets smaller and smaller as we start folding, as you'd expect. First thing you do is you get the collar from the side closest to you and the okumi, the front extension. So these two bits, the front edges if you like, pick them up and draw them across and then drop them, and look what happens. Do you see that? I'll do it again. When I drop it, I'll bring it right in. Here we go. That seam, this is the side seam here, that is snapped exactly into place, like a book, like I just dropped a book. This is how kimonos are made. Because they're hand sewn, so they've got quite hingeable joins, because they haven't been machined, so the fabric isn't stuck together, the fabric is drawn together. It's encouraged together, it's not forced together. It's a good way of putting it. It means that they all hinge, just like a book, like the spine of a book. So if you bring that piece in, watch this. Then what we do is we grab the okumi and the collar and we fold it back. And again, that hinges back on itself and makes this beautiful line. Do you see that there? Straight up the middle of the kimono. We get the other side from the same point. So I'm getting the collar and the okumi, the front extension, and I bring that across and I place it on top of the okumi of the other side. So you can kind of see what I'm doing, but you'll notice something once you've done this, is that that's the side seam there, and then this is the edge. So what's going on? This is the magic. Bring your sleeves in so they're nice and flat, and then pick up this side seam. Literally reach over, pick it up by both sides, just like that, and pull it over. And oh, I love doing that. I'm going to do it again. Ready? So this is all filled out like this, and it was you're a bit worried and everyone's a bit puzzled and anxious. Well, what's going to happen now? That doesn't fit. Look at that. It's all off kilter. Pick up the side seam, draw it across and drop it. And look at that. That's the centre back. It's folded completely into quarters. Isn't that just incredible? So you can see that. That's all absolutely neat and gorgeous down there. My goodness, what's happened up the top? Oh my gosh, this has all gone to pot. It hasn't. You're on track. Pull the sleeve across. There's conjecture as to how you deal with the sleeves, but people who taught me have taught me this. Pull the sleeve across and place it on top of the other sleeve. Do you see the symmetry going on? And then with the collar, tuck the collar in, and it should sit like that. So I'll do that again. This is the center of the collar, and it's all sort of sitting out a bit messy. Pick up the center of the collar, which will have a little fold on it because of the way you fold it every time you put it away. And you fold it back and you sort of knife it into here, into this center back seam. You pick up both of the sleeves and you fold them over as if it's hugging itself. And you'll notice that the yuki here, from what we learnt earlier, the sleeves are a bit bigger than the actual kimono. It's quite interesting when you look at it. So obviously they had a yuki that needed to be a certain length, but they wanted the sleeves to be a bit longer to reach their wrists or something. Fascinating it is. Set that over there, and then you get the hem, and you bring it up to the sleeves. Then you fold this over the top. You fold that bit over the top, and then it can be folded up to that small. But actually what you would do is you would have it now like that. So the sleeve is a whole piece, and you would put it into a tatoushi, so a washi paper envelope to then put into your cupboard. But before I do that, I'm going to do this again, and I'll show you how to do it. Let's do it with one that I've made. This is my very precious and beautiful silk painted kimono that I have made myself. We take it, and I mean, this just drops straight into place. There's the side seam there. I haven't even done the rest of it, and it's already doing it. By the way, look at these seams. How you can see the gold paint along them. Isn't that gorgeous? I get the okumi, the front extension, and I pull that back, and it sits straight back onto that like an obedient little kimono. That's all sitting flat and lovely. That's gorgeous. I grab the okumi and the collar of the other side, and I bring them over and match them with the first side. And you can see that all sort of messy up there, but we're not worrying about that yet because we're doing this part, which is my favorite. Grab the other side seam, bring it over to the first side seam, and just sit in wonder and think, how did that even happen to get that centre back seam where it is now? Fantastic. Bring the sleeves to the sleeves, and we take the centre of the neck and we put it back to the centre back, and that all sits beautifully. Fold the sleeves over the top, and the whole thing folds up to the bottom of the sleeve. Absolutely beautiful. And then this, look at that. Amazing. I should just make cushions. That would be lovely. That's another one done. And it can be folded up like that and transported around. I keep mine unfurled a bit. In my place in Bristol, I have drawers that are a metre wide, so I can just slide them all in, and they're wrapped in their washi paper envelopes, and they sit in stacks in there, nice and organised. I don't have that set up here, but I have something quite similar, so I will put this away in that method. I've shown you some examples with actual kimonos. What about the thing that we made? Here is the yukata that I just made, and that hopefully you just made as well. And now I can show you how to fold this for storage. Folding them in this way means that you won't have to iron them when you get them out. In Japan, with a traditional kimono like the ones I showed you before, you don't iron a kimono. You get it out a couple of days before you need it, and you let it fall, because none of the panels are actually folding on themselves other than on their seams. It means that any creases that do happen with the folding as it goes into the tatoushi and stuff, that can all fall out, because it's not a sort of hard press. It's like putting pieces of crepe paper within your washing when you fold it, so you don't get a crease in something. It just means it travels around a larger path and there isn't a hard snap of a crease. And that's the reason that they're done like this. So you don't usually press one of these garments. You certainly don't press a traditional Japanese kimono. You never press them, you never wash them. They get folded in the way that I've just shown, in the way that I'm about to do now, and then they are put away, and then they're brought out, if not to wear, and they hang them so they're ready to wear, and all the stuff falls out, the creases. If not for that, then you'd get them out every couple of months if you're not using them, and air them, because they don't get washed or anything like this. They go out and they go on the big racks, and they sit out with their arms splayed and everything, and they air them, and then they put them away again. And it's a constant thing. So if in a house with a lot of kimono in Japan, it's a full-time maintenance thing, because you've got all the seasons, so you're constantly rotating them, but you're also getting ones that you haven't used in ages. You have to get them out to air them again, and then put them away again, and then get out the ones that you're going to wear and air them. So it's a whole thing. It's quite cool. I quite like it. And I said you don't wash them. What you do with a kimono, they do get maintenance. They do get cleaned. You'd never wash them. You never throw it into a machine wash. You don't wash it by hand or anything like that. They get sent to a specialist, and this is where I remember when we made this, I talked about, especially along here, there's you don't subtract from the fabric, because when you clean a kimono, the whole thing is taken apart and then sewn back into the tanmono, and then it's sent over this contraption, a set of wheels and pulleys, and it goes over and over, and it's all pushing steam through the fabric. So it's taken apart and steamed all the way along, and then it's re-sewn again. So you need to be able to have it come back into the tanmono situation. You can't be cutting little curves and stuff in it, because it needs to be all sewn up so you can steam it. It happens rarely, this, by the way. It's not a common thing to do. You steam it, and that's how they're cleaned. Otherwise, you don't get them dirty. They're worn so far away from the body. You would wear something of this weight as underwear, and then there's another piece on top of that, another piece on top of that, and then there's the kimono, and there can be even more layers before that. So it's almost like if you consider a winter coat that we might wear in the United Kingdom or America. You would wear a winter coat and you barely wash them, because they're so far away from your body. So they're not getting dirty from anything on your body. They are, though, if say you're eating something and you drop something onto it. So Japanese people, they're just careful. You're very careful. I know someone who got a little bit of vodka spilled on the collar of her kimono, and that was that kimono done. So let's go through the process with the one that we made. Why not? You can see here I've got it sort of splayed out. It's not very flat. I've got this seam, you can see, is flat. And look here, you can see where the belt is. By folding it this way, it does pull this back into place. And while it's in storage, these creases will come out, and then the whole thing about hanging them will do it. This you can put into the washing machine. As long as you pre-washed your fabric, you can throw this into the washing machine, do it on a delicate, maybe put it inside a pillowcase the very first time you do it. But wash it on cold and it will be fine, and you can press it. We've pressed this a lot. You can press this till the cows come home if you've made it this way. If you're dealing with silk, that's a whole different story, and you need to know how to deal with your silk. But you can see, once we start folding this, these creases, can you see that? Just by virtue of this being pushed flat, will push these creases out. So we've got a beautiful big centre back seam. This won't snap like the hand sewn ones will, but we can easily use that process to get it into place. So we drop this. Did it snap? It didn't quite snap. It wasn't far off though. So you snap it yourself along there. There's your beautiful side seam leading up to the Miyatsuguchi up here. And I just sort of pull this up here so things aren't hanging down too much and pulling. And then I bring the Akumi back on itself. It's a great thing with these big open seams, is that you can see exactly where you are and how much of the seam you've got. So you know that you should just have one seam allowance coming over with you, not two. There you go, that's nice and flat there. You see the difference? The ones that I've made that I've hand sewn, they just go boop, 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 boop. This is machine sewn, so it's not as easy, but it's a great way to do it. Also, it's a really convenient way of storing things. When you have as many kimono and yukata as I do, you need you need a better method of storing them than just hanging them on coat hangers or folding them up. And we'll bring the collars together like this, and the front overlaps, the front extensions, they're now placed all together, lovely and flat. And you can see here's the other side seam right over there at the top. So I'm just going to pull that across. You see I sort of caught the sleeve in my arm as I'm bringing it across, and just place it down. A bit more placing, less snapping. But you see, look, there's that beautiful, beautiful straight piece of fabric. And now that this is all fine, make sure I'm not pushing off the table into my tea down there. I can work on the top. I can work on these parts, on the sleeves and the collar. So I'm going to line up my sleeves. Now I've got a large desk, but you can do this on a smaller surface. The floor is a great place to do it, or on top of a bed. If you take the duvet or any quilts or things off the top, you should be fine. Get the center back next. So there's the center back. You can see we don't have a crease here, but you will. That's the other thing I talked about, how in Japan you won't press your garments. They don't get pressed. And so those creases, so there's a crease at the center back neck. A lot of them, you'll see it when you see someone in a kimono, there'll be a crease there, and that's absolutely fine. It means that you've stored it correctly. So it's okay to have that crease. You know, they're not ironing that out. And you can see here we've got the sort of crinkles from where we had the sash, and that will all be flattened out when you do this. See, but every time we're passing over it and just flattening it down. So pull up your hem. Now before, what I did was I pulled the hem up to here because I had short sleeved garments, very short sleeve. I had a kosode that was to here, and I had another kimono that was to here. This, if you've made this exactly to the measurements that I was, is the sleeve is half of the whole garment, and this is where you see how that works. So hold down the end of the sleeves and pull it up. Do you see that? Oh, it's so satisfying. That's your entire garment all there. And so I talked about before that in Bristol I have these beautiful 1 meter drawers, which is over 3 feet, 3.5 feet or something like that. But they're 1 meter. They're the big drawers from the big place that sells cupboards and drawers that I'm sure you all know. And so all of them would then be put into the tatoushi envelopes, the washi paper envelopes, and then they'd just go into the drawer like that. So if you can, go to that big shop that sells lots of drawers from Northern Europe and get those drawers, because they're fantastic for it. If not, you can keep it like this if you have a cupboard big enough. But also, now that everything's folded around itself so many times, it's all wrapped around and it's not creasing as much, you can get this, fold that in half again, and if you want, you can fold that in half again, say if you're traveling, and see, like it's already wanting to pull itself back this way, get those creases out. It's fantastic. So there is the garment we just made. I've used 4.5 meters of fabric, nearly 5 yards of fabric. I've got no waste, and this is what I've made. It all ends up in a little package like this. Wouldn't that make a fantastic gift for someone? They go, oh, well, wonderful, you bought me a tea towel. No, it's a giant honking yukata. Lovely, look at that, you can see that's the collar there. I'm going to put this to the side here. Another thing is this. Do you see on your sash, the narrowing, this is called narrowing when something, it's not quite roping. Roping is something that happens within a seam. This is the narrowing of the fabric. So you see it's folded across and it's created some lovely little accordion pleats there because it's been tied up and treated like that. So it's going to narrow. So there is a solution to this as well. You get It's quite meditative, this. It's really nice, actually, if you take your robe off at the end of the night, stand by your bed, and you fold up the sash. And it takes some time and takes some concentration, but it's a great way to unwind before you hop into bed. So you need to make, I always think of this as a little collar at the top. And you make a little collar. Now it doesn't have to be really neat, don't worry too much, but you need something that looks a bit like this. So I've gone folded over once, so this meets here, and this is on some kind of angle, and I'm matching that angle there, like that. But don't fret, don't worry. What happens at the bottom here isn't so important. You don't need to make it all perfect. Get something like that. See how it looks like the top of a kimono, the lovely crossover. And then once you start this, it starts to sort of do it itself. Bring this up, and we're going to make a pentagram. So I'm taking this part, the rest of the sash underneath, and up to this corner here. Not to this corner, to this corner. So it passes over. And then I fold this over. So then it reaches, I'll show you, there's that corner there. And then this comes across this way, so it goes back to the underside. And now it starts to sort of wrap itself to the right side. You've made a 5-sided pentagram. And then, oh, it's different on this fabric, I'll tell you that much. You'll notice it if you use looser fabric and fine fabric. But it does the trick. So by doing this, what I'm doing, like what we did with the whole garment just then, you're flattening out the fabric. And it's not going to be perfect, certainly not with this light fabric here. And if you have something lighter than mine, it's not going to look perfect, but this is going to help save that roping, that narrowing effect that you are getting on your sash. And it keeps just winding around, and it takes itself to each side of the pentagram, and you just unfurl it a bit and send it over the other way. And it's going to look uneven and awful sometimes, but it all comes together in the end. So take time when you get to these bits to unfurl it. Use your whole hand and bring it across. Of course, you can send this under the iron and give it a lovely scorch, but there's something lovely about doing this. I quite enjoy. There's a meditation to it, because you're just going over, and then at some point, like now, so it's close to the end, and it just starts going doop, 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 doop. It goes to the right side that it needs to go to. It just sends itself there. And you see how lovely it's becoming? It looked like a horror show before, didn't it? And you go, oh, this is awful. Why am I watching this? Look at what we've got. Isn't it beautiful? And then I've got a little tail there, and I tuck it in at the very end. And I can fold that in if I really want it to be absolutely gorgeous. Isn't that wonderful? So this is what you would do. People who have a Japanese kimono, the women who have all the accoutrements that go with it, so an obi, and they have things called koshi himo, which means tie for the waist. So koshi is waist, himo means tie, so it goes around the waist, and they have all different ties that go around. You use ties, and then you take the tie out. All of them are like little light cotton things like this, and this is how you fold them up. So they stack nicely in your purse or wherever you keep all your kimono dressing equipment. But also when you bring them out, they're flat. So when you unfurl that next time, it'll be flat. And I'll do the same actually. I've got something on under this because it's gotten cold. I'll do the same with the belt I'm wearing. So this is a men's sash, and you can see, I'm going to hold it up, this is what I've been wearing the entire time. Traditional Japanese men's obi for yukata. So it's quite a, you see these everywhere, and you wear it with a yukata. It's not very formal or anything like that, but they're fantastic. It's quite short as well. So we've seen how how I've made mine and my size. I can't actually tie this in the lovely knot at the back like a lot of Japanese men would, because my hips are far too wide for that. So I tie it in a bow and send it to the back. That's my fault. That's me eating too much pizza, not Japan's. But you can see that this does the same thing. Look at this. Do you see that? And it's this beautiful sort of, it's a canvas weave or a basket weave. It's a heavily woven braided belt. And I'm going to do the same thing, and it'll be much quicker with this because it's so stiff. And this is, if you're using a different fabric to the one that I have, you'll get the same result. So you see here, I'll do that slowly again, sorry. I just started going. Fold this in. You see, that could be there, that could be there. That doesn't matter. We're just making a little shape there. So then we can send this round and line it up with the back there. Because we want to make a 5-sided shape. See, we've got a 5-sided shape. It's not even, but it will become even now as we go around. And so just at the end of the night, you've had a bath, put the robe on the chair at the end of the bed, and now you can just stand there for a second and this is so relaxing, and slowly wind this around and around. And do you see with this stiffer fabric how it's just sending itself to the sides? I'm not doing anything. It's not going back and forth and back and forth. It's going round and round, and it's doing it itself. And I'm just pulling it like that. So I'm flattening it out a bit. Look at the difference between that and that, by the way, how easy that was. Bring it round and tuck it in. And that, you can do that with any of these garments, and you can do it. I do it with all the sashes that come with all the robes. So I have loads of kimono and yukata that I've made and maybe I've bought. I've only bought a couple, but I have loads of bathrobes as well. And I've done that with all those sashes. So I've got a whole collection of little stars in my closet. It has all of them in there. So that's them. And you know what? Just as the last thing I'll do this yukata, just so you can see it again. So, unfurl it. This is the inside. There's the centre back seam. Get that nice and straight. That's as neat as you need to get it. Drop in for the side seam. Now that snaps. Oh, that's lovely. Remember, this is hand sewn, and this is hand sewn Japanese cotton. You can see the whole yukata. This is what I've been wearing the whole time. So this is the insides of it, by the way. There's the edge of the tan mono. You can just see it, can't you? Because I spent so long, in fact, I'll bring this up. I spent so long matching these seams, and cutting it took so long. And then sewing it, I wanted to make sure that the stitches are all even along those stripes as well. So this was a labor of love. You can see I've done the same here. So the stitches come out over the white so I can see the stitches. This is just for me. I didn't actually know I'd be showing this, so that's what I did for myself. And I've pressed it over to one side because I've got that tan mono. This is the center back. And on the outside, sorry, you can see that it's been pressed across, and you can't really see the stitches because it's just brought across a bit, like we did with the tomoeri. So there we go. This is what I've been wearing the whole time. You may have been interested in how it went. So what have I got? I've got my center back seam there, nice and straight. Pull up the collar and the okumi, the front overlap, drop it down so I've got my side seam which just snaps into place. Oh, it's lovely. Literally like a book. Pull back the front overlap. Wonderful. This one's always a bit, the only thing that makes this one hard is that it is, you can see it's kaleidoscopic. Once you start moving it around really fast and you're trying to find a seam within it, it does dazzle you a bit because of the pattern, this beautiful double happiness. it does start to dazzle your eye a bit. I'm going to bring the collar across and just sit it there, and then bring side seam across. Oh, that's lovely. Look at that. It's all just gone straight into place. Mind my tea down the end there. I'm going to dip this into masala chai. It will smell nice. Line up my sleeves. Get the center of my collar back here. I'm going to push that back onto and knife it. Do you see that? Onto the center back seam. And then everything in there lies flat. That's lovely. Bring this across the sleeves. And then I'm going to bring that up to the sleeves. And then I'll fold that in half again. And there is my yukata, all folded up with my sash. I'd love to say I'll put that away, but I'm not going to, because I will wear this after my bath tonight. so this won't stay folded up for long. This gets used every single day. There you go. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed these little extras that I could give you as well. And I hope you watched this and use them. This is so useful, and so is this. Folding both things just in a little certain way. It takes a little bit longer, but it means everything is kept nicer and it's easier to use when you use it again. Fantastic.